about foreign-born priests in the United States, and people look at me and they don't think I'm foreign-born. Actually, largely it's because I'm white, and I speak, after having been in the United States for quite a number of years, there's not much of my accent left. In some of our parishes, I mean, we have a significant number of people who are undocumented, who are trying to go through the process. And for people who come, who are immigrants, we have this picture that's presented of they're freeloaders, they're this, they're that, and so on. People don't appreciate how much, in one level, courage it takes to be an immigrant. In one sense, there are people who are fleeing. If you don't leave, you're all going to get slaughtered. So that's a strong imperative. But there's another level where people look and say, there has to be more than life to what we're experiencing, or we want to build a better life for our children. I mean, every human being, I think, agrees with that. We want our children to have a better life than we do, and we'll sacrifice for that. And so when you move from one country to another, that takes a level of risk, or in a sense, entrepreneurial spirit, that in order to do that. When you come to another country from your country of origin and start a new life, it's not as simple as people think it is. Because when you live in your country of origin, there's like this backdrop or curtain, and you're sort of embedded and woven into it. And that curtain is all the sort of cultural things, all the normal life things that are just fundamentally part of the air that you breathe and the water that you swim in, so to speak. And now you pull yourself out of that and you put yourself up against another backdrop that has, at times, quite different air and water and so on. And you don't just fit in. In my case, because I spoke Commonwealth English, I was able to adapt to the United States fairly easily. For people like the Mexican immigrants or Latin American immigrants or Asian immigrants, having to adapt to a new language is adds a much greater level of complication to it. But for example, the things that you eat, the things that you joke about, the things that are important in the culture, they aren't here. So where do you find those? So I came on a visitor's visa to visit the community that I'm part of, and then decided very quickly, it became clear that I should pursue staying here long term. So you'd think it was, a person with a religious commitment who's come to join a religious community, what today we call the R1 visa, would be pretty easy. But back then, there was some technicality that they refused to grant me that. I mean, it was bureaucracy at its finest. Because of my circumstances, I was not permitted to leave the United States until its completion. So that was nearly 5 years, and during that time 3 of my siblings got married. I was not able to go home for their weddings. My grandmother died. So I had to play by the rules, and it was at times fairly challenging. Yes. So I became a US citizen here in Portland with about 150 something people at a government office near the Lloyd Center was where they did the swearing in. It was fascinating to see them. Most people from third world countries. And so I went in to the interview, and this lady came out. There was just a pile of files. She just stuck her hand and pulled one. It was mine. Called me in and sat down. She starts paging through the file and looking at me, and she says, "Oh, I see you're a seminarian studying to become a Catholic priest," or something like that. So it's like, okay, here we go. And then she looked up and smiled. She said, "I think that's wonderful." At the end of it, I just said to her, "Ma'am, I have to tell you, you've completely changed or at least seriously changed my view of the immigration process and immigration authorities, because up till now it hasn't been real good." There's an element of all these people who have come to the United States that I think we should harness for the good of the country and the culture. One moment I remember where I was ready to give up. So don't despair, don't give up. Keep working until we find the way.